What I found to work best on these calls is first just to dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of your business, your acquisition process, how that's working right now, and ultimately just to dive a little bit more into the specific challenges that you feel are keeping you from moving forward at the moment. And then once we get some clarity there, I'm more than happy to, if we can help you, explain what that looks like and walk you through what that looks like in more detail, or just to figure out whatever else is best. Like maybe I'm going to refer you to someone we know, for example, or give you some things to check out in the meantime. Basically, whatever you need. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure. So I just start with kind of describing my situation. Is that fair?
So, I mean, I guess the first place that we could start, which I think would be best, was just to understand what you feel like the biggest challenge is right now. Like, what do you feel like is not working at the level that it truly could be or that it should be?
I would say, yeah, like right now, our primary channel for client acquisition is cold email.
Mm,
And I would say that a micro challenge for me has been market research and basically like it's being able to understand the nuances of like lower headcount brands, if that makes sense, because my agency basically does like Facebook ads, Google ads, and holistic growth marketing with market research. And my background came from like these venture capital funded startups.
yeah.
And basically, I've been doing outreach for roughly a year now. And in a good way, what I'm appreciating about e-commerce is that there is probably a bit more fishing involved than other verticals. Like I have a friend who has an agency that works with like coaches and schools, and I can just see that my numbers are that like even sending 100 cold emails a day, it needs to go up, and that's pretty easy. But I would say that it's the emotional intelligence, and the best way that I can describe it is that when I get outreach messages, let's just say last year from cold email agencies, like I would find their emails a little tone deaf because they'd be like talking about cold email as a mechanism for sales, whereas in reality, it's the funnel, it's the offer, and being able to position things. And my biggest learning in my industry, and this is very much a personal philosophy, is that if you're dealing with a company where you have the word founder instead of CEO, that thing I was saying before about how the cold email agencies would seem tone deaf, my risk is that if they're low head count and they're like, hey, we're a year away from running Facebook ads, and then I send them an offer where it's like, we're going to cut your ROAS in 90 days, like that comes across tone deaf. So I've been figuring out a lot of these out of the box approaches, basically based upon gap selling, where I'm speaking to business problems and using ambiguity as like a to my advantage. Like so, literally, I've been getting responses with networking emails where I use a provocation so that they don't denounce, disqualify me as an agency just because I've been able to close deals as intern CMO. Hopefully that gives you some color.
That gives me some context. I like what you're saying about playing on ambiguity. It's really interesting. What do you have a specific ideal customer in e-commerce or not really?
Yeah, I mean, typically it's brands that are comfortably below 1 million in direct to consumer. And it's basically, I tend to gravitate towards either higher average order value e-com products, basically non-apparel. My biggest case study was a health and wellness focused baby monitor, where I basically helped them like 9x direct to consumer go from like 150K to 1 million D2C. So it tends to be more Shopify stores, health that are health and wellness focused. In certain cases, home and garden and electronics. But basically, electronics is a very small vertical, so I have to kind of position my case studies as more health and wellness.
Hmm. Okay, understood. That's interesting. So no real specific niche, but just if they come under a set of circumstances, then yes, you can help.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I mean, startups would be one ideal niche. The
Yeah.
other would be brands that, at least historically, were lower headcount trying to figure out positioning. And again, health and wellness would be the most concrete example of like a sub niche that I'm putting a lot of energy into. But
Mm,
product-based brands.
got it. And what does your pricing look like at the moment? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So historically, I used to work with VC-backed brands where I was charging like 10K per month minimum. But given that this is acquisition, getting my foot in the door, I've been able to close deals at like 2K per month, where it's either ads or more interim CMO plus ads. That makes sense. Oh, did you?
And would you? Yeah, my bad. My bad. I don't
I
know what's
was.
going on. Having an issue. Sorry, I think you cut out towards the end there. You talked about now because you're doing more with your clients, you're okay with charging more. What does that look like specifically? How much does that range?
Oh, I think it cut off. I was saying it's usually 2K per month. Like
Okay.
my goal is to get my foot in the door instead of, again, because if you're working with positioning, you might be working with an asset like Facebook ads that doesn't make money. So like, yeah, that's more of the model that I'm trying to go for. Whereas again, in the past, I was charging 10K per month. I literally got my agency up to like 50K because the VC backed
Mm,
brands were willing to burn money to make ads work.
mm, got it. Okay. And so we spoke a little bit at the start about market research being one of the problems that you've identified. Tell me more about that. What do you mean when you say it's a problem?
Well, it's dual, but it's basically when I talk to brands that are low headcount, like they're it basically seems to be a higher numbers game because it's hard to describe, but it's energetic. Like you'll
Mm,
basically get certain people where everything is is unprofitable. And so like there is a thing of like when I use the word agency, like they're thinking 10K retainer. It's basically, yeah, just I want to have more conversations with founders. I get a sense that certain brands that are low headcount are energetically closed off. And so I've been speaking to those objections in my cold emails. That's the best way to describe it is there's two types of ecom brands. There's those that talk to people and are open, and then there's those that are energetically closed off that would, I think, require fishing on the phone. And so those are the two personas. It's like there's just brands that are open, they're struggling with profitability. I mean, ecom brands, regardless of whether they're at 100K per month or at 100 million per year, profitability is an issue with ad channels in a vacuum. Um, and so, yeah, it's basically being able to, like, I use triggers and I use both long list where it's, mass cold email 100 per day, but then I also want to have a short list strategy to account for what I described before as like the tone deaf, where it's just recon.
mm,
And most of the time, people will just literally say, they're like, hey, man, we're just not running ads. So market research is a challenge because I always want to like up volume, but I want to use a trigger-based mechanism where I basically use the Facebook API to find people that run ads so I don't have to sell them on something they don't believe in. And usually they're running too many ads, like 50 meta ads. They already have, we're all set. They already have an agency. So I basically found like a Facebook API. So if I was to make the market research more concrete before, I was concerned that I'd be overspending on VAs until I found this API thing that helps me with triggers of people who are running a low volume of meta ads.
got it. Okay. Yeah, that's giving me a good picture. And so I guess the problem you're dealing with, you want to up the volume, but you also need that targeting to be specific to the people that aren't running meta ads that fit into the API. So is that sort of the challenge you're running into?
Yeah, but I would say that I almost always focus on people who are running meta ads, just because
Mm,
again, like it's when you deal with ecom and they're not running meta ads and they're low headcount, there's a big risk of them being sleeper brands. So my market research, I would say, challenges. I want to up the headcount, but then I don't want to use the word market research and sound condescending. So I'm trying to test iterations of the word customer persona. Um, so just to give you context, I've gotten literally responses from brands that were on Shark Tank, like Hug
Yeah.
Sleep. So really high status brands where I use the words closer to positioning, market research. And then like recently, it's not a huge deal, but like they probably already had an agency, but I got like, yeah, like unsubscribed from a brand where I used the word positioning or something like that. And they were like not relevant to us, unsubscribe. So like I'm not afraid of unsubscribes, but I want to minimize them with market research.
Yeah, and when we talk about market research specifically, I guess it's kind of twofold here because it's both in your targeting and then it's both in what you're offering for clients as well. Like, what would you say is the difference between the two, and where's the main problem you think coming from?
Well, the difference in targeting is that it takes a bunch of time. So like if you're using a short list strategy, right, you can literally look if there's sleeper brands and basically see if there's any hand count. So that's one challenge, is that it just takes a shit ton of time. And I guess market research in terms of speaking to people, it's just being modular with offers, which I think is the easy part. So I would say at this point, there's ups and downs with outreach. Like I just want to get more meetings, quite simply, without disqualifying myself.
Disqualifying yourself in what sense? Like just by the messaging you're using?
Yeah, like I said earlier, like if I use the Jordan Platten messaging of we're going to grow your ROAS in 90 days, my most of my ICP, that's just tone deaf. Like again, because the positioning is a focus. Certain cases, I've market research means like hiring a market research firm, so it's like a very um, it's more holistic funnel than talking about ROAS.
Mm, okay. And then, so with the targeting that you're doing at the moment, and with the market research that you're still actually trying to uncover a strategy that you can do at volume, how is this problem around market research? How do you think this has impacted the business specifically?
I mean, I think it's how is yeah, like the impact is that there's just certain times with my current setup where I just go weeks without me or a week without a meeting. And like the way it's impacted the business is that I have a ton of confidence. I'm basically going to have to just go a huge volume route, but I'm also, this is not to get off topic, but I'm now considering creating a second sub niche of lead generation so that basically to because I'm getting a little annoyed at times with the long sales cycles of these brands. So it impacts the business, and that it's just volatility with cold email. Yeah, if that makes sense. It's
Mm,
volatile because if you're only sending at this point 100 cold emails a day, and then like it's just a numbers game. It's like if 75% of those are sleeper brands, then it's like literally like you got a cold. I got to spend a shit ton of time cold calling to recon the lists. So that's the impact, is that the consistency at this point. Yeah.
mm, okay, I get it. And so at the moment, is cold email the only thing you're doing to get new clients?
No, I do some cold calling. Um, and then I've had some success with inbound, although it's not been quite replicable. And then LinkedIn, technically, I closed a deal off of LinkedIn outbound. So cold email is not the only channel, but it is the one that gives me the fastest learnings at this point.
Okay, got it. And I want to explore like how it's all working for you at the moment. So with cold calling, with LinkedIn, and then obviously mainly cold email. So let's say last month, for example, how many new appointments did you have with potential clients?
I mean, I would assume something around three, three meetings,
Okay. And then what about the month before that?
probably something similar. I'm estimating here, but yeah, like somewhere between 3 and 5 on an average month.
Okay. So around let's say six in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
How many of those six meetings you had? Because obviously we spoke about your niche and it is quite specific to some degree. You can help. How many of those six would you say were actually perfect fit clients that you'd want to work with?
I mean, I think maybe half. Yeah.
Okay, and of those half, how many did you enroll? Or let's just say out of the six, how many did you take on board?
I don't think any of those closed. I think they were all, and again, I'm going off of memory here, but I think they're all like either long-term leads or it was just like they're energetically like too averse to the risk. So I don't think, yeah, any of them closed. Basically, I closed 3 deals this year. And then
Yeah.
after that, there's just been a small lull.
Hmm. Okay. Why do you think the reason for that is just because of
It's,
out?
I think it's just, it's at this point, reflecting on it, volume, but also to some extent, hedging the small head count versus medium head count. So when I say small head count, I was saying literally like 1 to 10. And like the difference is that, or at least my hypothesis is that brands with a head count of 20 to 30, even 50, they tend to just have more money.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's something we've found as well massively.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course. Of course. So, okay. Okay, got it. So in terms of new revenue, how long has it been since you collected cash?
Well, I mean,
In terms of bringing on a new client, sorry, how long has that been?
it's been a couple months. I mean, technically, I have one client that's a networking connection I'm helping out with his agency. That was incremental revenue last month. But in terms of closing strangers, I think it's been since like February, if I'm not mistaken, February-ish.
Hmm. Okay, and at the moment, whereabouts are you revenue-wise with the agency?
Right now we're at like 3K per month.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Do you mind me asking, like, what sort of amount of that is profit? Like, what does it look like structure-wise? Do you have team members? Do you have a good
At
big
this
expenses or?
at this point, I'm framing myself more as like a one-man band, so the majority of it's profit. And basically, at this point, I have bandwidth to take on like multiple deals, largely on my own or with designers or whatever.
Hmm. Okay, perfect. Makes a ton of sense. Bear with me. I'm literally just going to turn on my fan because
Oh,
it's
sure, sure.
very hot in here in Medellin today. Let's just. I'm sure you have the same problem in Mexico City.
Yeah, a lot of places don't have ACs; they're just fans.
Yeah, yeah, it's where I am for sure. And I'm curious because, like you said, outbound is sort of it's more recently that you've like identified the problems. But how long has the lead generation specifically been like this for? Like struggling to book a good amount of appointments.
Yeah, I mean, past month, like maybe there's two issues is that volume would basically solve is that it's enough meetings, but also meetings that are short-term pipeline versus long-term pipeline. And so like that's a major objection that I see in my market is that people have a solution in place. And so that's why I was able to use my back channel recon networking approach to at least start to vet this concept that I can still talk to people with agencies if I'm clever with my messaging. But yeah, it's a dual thing. It's been a good month or two.
Hmm. Okay. Whereas previously, you don't think you were targeting people that already had agencies or already were running ads, but now you're realizing, okay, we can still serve the people that have existing solutions.
Well, no, it's more if we can get them in the pipeline for when they get rid of their agency. So that is what's
Mm.
tricky is that you there might be brands that I basically I believe anything is possible. I believe I could sell to somebody who has an agency. It's a lot more likely though if they don't have an agency to be able to sell to them. And that's where it's tricky is that if they don't have ads, you're just dealing with brands that get like literally like what's the word? Like it's like you're evil, and then again, it's an energetic mismatch of sleeper brands. Like it's where
Yeah.
it's like they just don't want to invest. Like when you cold call them, they think of you as a pest.
Mm. Got it. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so you said around like 2, 3 months with the lead generation
Couple
being
months.
like this.
Yeah,
Couple months. Okay. Do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
sure.
Has that had an impact on you, like at all?
Yes and no. I've basically, like in a very good way, like had to develop a more stoic mindset. And basically, I don't know how to describe it, but like I have so much passion for ecom that like I'm self-aware enough to know that like this is like yeah, like someone who's relatively new. It says it can be stressful at times, but looking at the big picture, that's where I try to focus. Is that I mean I think there's a pathway for us to get to 10K, 30K. Like
Yeah,
it's always been that outreach is about troubleshooting. So I always focus on the positives.
definitely. That's a good way to be. And so with this specific problem with lead generation lasting a couple months, has that impacted any other areas of the business? Like has that affected other things that you're doing in terms of moving forward with projects, clients, things like that?
Well, I mean, it's just I would feel more at ease if there was more appointments because it's just yeah, in a good way. Like more clients is more revenue. So like in other areas of the business, no, it's just that there's always a chance that clients leave, and so I want to start filling a pipeline to replace what a potential worst case scenario.
Hmm. Is that something that plays on your mind quite a lot? Because for me, if I didn't have a predictable flow of appointments, like obviously I'm sure you're the same, you're confident in what you're providing, but obviously there is that fear that if we don't have new business coming in, like clients can leave at any point. Unless we know that we're going to be working with them for the next 5 years, it's guaranteed. Like as long as there's no predictable way of getting appointments, it's like you're almost living with that fear of like, okay, they could leave at any time, and then that's just like 50% of my revenue or X amount of revenue. Is that fear there for you? Would you say?
Yes, but at a very small level, again,
Mm.
basically because I've just developed a more open-minded mindset. Like maybe this is color, but like because there was this period of time where I took a break from my industry and
Yeah.
like I was revving things up. Like I've been very satisfied with my agency just because I'm getting my sea legs back with fulfillment and I'm getting into this energetic state where like my agency is all about love and peace versus like worrying about the future. So it's a duality, in other words.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious, like, what do you think has been keeping you from working this all out on your own? Like, what's in the way? Because obviously you've tried things to troubleshoot the outreach and to get it going. Why do you think you, what do you think is stopping you from doing it on your own and figuring it out yourself?
Hmm. I mean, I think in the past it was I was busy with fulfillment, right? I do think there's like a yeah, like because it's a smaller operation now. That was part of it. The other I think was just volume, which I was always aware that I wanted to kind of get to a comfort level before upping the volume. And so just give you color, like I'm buying like 5 new servers this week to set them up for like a bigger burst in May.
Mm.
But yeah, like it was even though yeah, like when my 3 deals closed, like it was just I was exhausted because I was new to
Yeah.
sales and like I was learning all these nuances, and so like at that point I was prioritizing the energetic state of yeah, like myself versus trying to force like basically 2 months ago I wouldn't have been ready for more volume. Now, I mean I'm ready for almost everything.
Mm. Cool. I'm curious though because you've been at it for like quite a while, like for lead generation, especially trying to figure out this problem. And e-com's not an easy niche. What do you think is stopping you from figuring this out on your own? Because obviously there's a reason you've gone to the call with me today. But in terms of just like holding yourself back from figuring it out yourself, right? What do you think is in the way?
I think this is going to get into like I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but I do think that Mercury is in retrograde. I have very fluid belief systems. Basically, I have right now. I've just been recollecting my energy to get out of the.
Mm.
So there's been energy levels because there's just been times where I would be working like a madman, and at
Yeah,
this point, I've just been more trusting the universe.
yeah. definitely belief system, mindset plays a huge role in that without a doubt. Awesome. So have you reached out to anyone else to get help with this in the past, like with the lead gen specifically?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, I worked with Jordan Platten, his Affluent Academy. It's about to expire. They've only helped me, like in terms of very big picture stuff. I would say that market research stuff wasn't a huge like wavelength for them. And so like there were certain things I just couldn't discuss with them. And then I'm part of Communications Edge, which is like a community that helps me with cold email templates. They basically give me feedback, but it's like a little cheap. So it's like from a standpoint of boundaries, like there's only so much I can ask them, like because they have a forum and it's like a decorum thing.
What do you mean by that, a decorum thing?
Well, if it's like you're spending $400 a quarter, like you can't ask them for help for the cold email every week. Like basically their boundaries, I think, are you can ask for monthly reviews of cold email. And it's like again, like their forum, they're really open, like they've never complained, but it's like at a certain point, like it's like I think they like it because I'm contributing market research and stuff. But yeah, like I I would be open whether it's in the more medium term to just see what's out there in the market to fill that possible gap. Like they're basically not like a holistic solution, in other words.
Mm, yeah, got it. I can definitely see that. Okay, and are you looking at any other solutions at the moment? Like you exploring any other external solutions to solve this?
I mean, maybe over time I'd be looking into like a ghostwriter, but my issue with gen agencies that I told you before is they just all come across tone deaf. Like they just
Yeah.
don't talk. They talk about cold email like this magic thing without talking enough about offers and market research. So, not really. But besides, yeah, again, maybe a ghostwriter in the medium term.
Mm. Yeah. Sounds like me and you have a similar belief system around lead gen agencies, definitely. Okay. Awesome. And okay, so we've spoken about lead generation. It's mainly been a problem for the last 2 months. What have been like the main things that you've tried to do to fix it? Because obviously you've talked about troubleshooting and things like that. Has there been anything else that you've tried to do to fix the problem?
Yeah, I changed my messages to a networking approach, and that started to bear fruit. Um, Honestly, like I've at one point considered changing all my campaigns to market research campaigns, but that and then recon on the phone works. Like I basically got more disciplined with tracking my metrics, and like I was able to get 2 booked meetings with cold calls. So I do know that if I turn that back on, like get back in the rhythm of the cold calling, and better document low versus medium headcount, that's a really like I could turn off all my campaigns and just cold call and generate pipeline. I've already done that, by the way. Like cold calling is almost always generates some pipeline, but it's always been medium term to long term versus like now.
Medium to long term in the sense that the people that you're reaching out to aren't looking for a solution right now.
Exactly. They're like, call me back in July, call me back in April, type thing.
Okay. Okay. So there's a few different things that you've tried, but it's not like you've been throwing everything just to try and fix this problem. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
no. Well, yeah, I'm recalibrating my entire list strategy, and then again, I'm putting things in place that may I can triple the volume or more of outbound emails.
Mm. Okay. But would you agree, like what you've done in the last 2 months hasn't really like moved the needle in the way that you'd want it to have moved?
Yes,
Okay. Can I ask you another personal question?
go for it.
So you've been wanting to like solve this problem mainly for like the last 2 months. It's been an issue, and then so we're having this call when I reached out to you. Why is it? Why would you say it's important now? Like, what about the timing now makes it a priority to solve? Like, is there any specific reason? Like, did anything shift for you in thinking, okay, now I want to sort this out?
Yeah, it's basically I want to have headway before June, and like I don't want to have any limiting beliefs, but if we're getting to like September, like that's when I would literally consider completely. It's basically a pain in the ass. could be a pain in the ass to get clients in Q3, Q4. And at that point, I'd have to start literally vetting my alternate or second idea, which is like a solar agents lead gen agency. So basically, it's I want to try to front load my volume push before June. Again, just because it can be a massive pain in the ass to do outreach in ecom Q4. Let's just say October. If it was October 1st, I'd be panicking.
Because of Black Friday and because of things like that.
Yeah, like it's you know, it's always possible to close clients, but it's like, yeah, my experience last year was that Q4 was a pain in the ass to get responses.
Yeah, and I can imagine coming up to summer, it's like you talked about the volume play before June and July. Like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Is there, other than the volume play and then you having that plan, okay, you want to switch things around if it comes to September and nothing's really worked out, is there any other reason why it's important now to solve this?
Yeah, I have the energy, the time, and I want to get my market research like it, yeah, I want to get market research of whether I need to start testing solar in roofing like now, because it's going to take 3 months of market research. So it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's like because of certain things can take time. I want to plot whether it's in those investments that are energy or money now, because time moves so fast. I have also just observed time moves fast in 2024. It's just a weird thing.
That makes sense. I've noticed the same, honestly, and yeah, definitely this year. Can I ask you another question?
Mhm.
Like, I kind of hate to ask this, but what's your plan if nothing does change and it pans out like the way that you're speaking? So the volume doesn't work, you don't solve the meeting bottleneck, and you're still struggling with not booking enough meetings, let's say when it does come to like September, October. Like,
I I would
what's the plan? What's the plan if nothing changes?
I would literally be testing new industries. I would be testing new industries, and again, I have like there's a spiritual element. I have a confidence that things will work out regardless. But
Mm.
it would be like turn off ecom and go solar, which has its own issues.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess that comes with the market research and validating the niche and everything like that.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. If for whatever reason it was to pan out in that way, again, I don't really enjoy asking this question, but I think it's relevant just to explore what it could look like. How would that impact you? In what way? Like how would that impact the business? How would that impact, I guess, your energy in a way?
Yeah, I'd be frustrated, but I'd also be empowered that, yeah, like that I'd have to pivot. Like, you know, worst case scenario, I'd have to find a job or contracts, but that's, yeah, like going into negative town. But that, yeah, it could hurt my psyche. It could hurt my motivation. Like, yeah, there has been a small issue that I've been working with meditation to overcome, but like where I felt like I'm putting in all this effort, and at times, like with these speed bumps, it's like, fuck this, fuck ecom. Like there's a little of that. I want to again just like been working through meditation.
Yeah. So at times you feel like it's kind of just like banging against a brick wall, and it's to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. And again, this is the toughest niche there is. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, for sure. Okay. And I'm curious, like, so let's say you do figure out the lead generation, you do solve the problem. What ultimately, what's the goal? Like, what is the goal if you figure out the lead generation? Let's say you have a system now that can book you all the appointments you want. Where do you want to take it from there? What's the goal?
Oh, my goal is to scale my agency 30K to 100K. I think outside of these bottlenecks, me being very self-aware, there's just an infinite number of permutations of me to succeed. And it's like, I want to focus on my product. Basically, I want to get like a handful of clients closed and continuously
Mhm.
iterate my product to get so that I can also, yeah, like have a better portfolio of UGC, etc. So like, I just want to grow my agency back to where it was before. It was at 50K.
50K.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that specific number is mainly in mind just because of that's where you were before.
Yeah, but it's also just I know it's possible, and it's like I want to
Yeah.
rebuild a team, and I want to eventually, yeah, like just being able to take gambles. Like it's like, hey, we'll comp your UGC. Like basically, ecom can be very lucrative. Like, I've made companies millions of dollars. So yeah, like there is a world where I could, maybe it's luck, but reach out to 10 brands and close them. It's just that timing stuff has been the hardest.
Timing in what sense?
Just long sales cycles. If they have an
Yeah.
agency, you reach out in a year type thing, or 3 months.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And what's the long-term vision for this? Because obviously the experience you have, you already have built the character traits, you already have the belief systems, you already have a large amount of the skills, especially when it comes to fulfillment, to get back to the 50K a month. But where do you want to take it after there? Like, what is the longer term vision than that?
I do want to expand to other sub niches. It's just a matter
Okay.
of timing and not using it as like a cop out or whatever.
Mm,
Because I'm basically right now doing Facebook ads for schools, and it's like I appreciate that for a team, like that could help with the volatility aspect. Is like it's easier to teach fulfillment for lead gen than it is for ecom. And for ecom, you sometimes get like like vibes that are more stressed. So that would then be my long term vision is, and then getting to like 100K per month.
mm. Got it. And I've got a personal question for you, if that's okay. And the reason I'm asking is because my goal, like if we were to work with you on this, isn't only to build a business that helps you get to the numbers of 50, 100K a month, and one that enables you to have wealth, but it's also one that enables you to be able to live whatever type of lifestyle that you want to live. So when you think about what that looks like, what comes up? Like, what are the non-monetary goals, the more personal side of things that you want getting to that goal of 50 to 100K a month to allow you to achieve?
I think it's just I want to have a family in the long term, like
Yeah.
that, and that's been my big driving factor. Is like when I am, yeah, like putting in the hours, doing the VA work. It's like the family stuff is what drives me.
Mm, perfect, right? That's nice to hear. Okay, awesome. I feel like we covered quite a bit of ground there. Is there anything you feel like that I don't have awareness on or that we haven't covered that you feel like I need to know?
No, no.
Okay. Well, based on what you've told me previously, I think what we're doing on our side may be a good fit for you because you know how early on the call, obviously, we discussed in detail about the problem around lead generation, about targeting, around headcount and stuff like that, and then upping the volume to really get better results. And obviously, again, that's just affecting the amount of meetings that you're booking. So our specialty is in helping marketing agencies, usually around the range of 0 to 10K a month, go to the numbers of 30 to 50K a month without having to spend hours and hours managing these tedious outreach systems or having to troubleshoot all these different things that go wrong around outreach, and I'm really nailing the targeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Brilliant. So where do you think we should go from here? Because I can walk you through the entire process of getting you to 50K a month, if that's something you'd be interested in, but you tell me where you want to go.
Yeah, I'd be curious about the big picture and big picture pricing, both.
Perfect. So, okay, do you still have the notes on your laptop?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Awesome. If you write out the numbers 1 to 4, that'd be really good. Number one, number two, number three, and number four.
Okay.
Perfect. So let me preface this by saying everything that we do for our clients is all customized based on what is best for you. So for you specifically, it's going to be 4 things. So 4 steps for you to go from not booking many meetings, so 3 a month or whatever it may be, having problems with the outreach with the targeting, to overcoming that, booking a hell of a lot of meetings by solving the targeting and the main bottlenecks when it comes to lead generation, in 4 months. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Perfect. So when you first come in, the very, very first thing that we're going to do is build out what I call your unique mechanism, which is a term for an in-depth offer. So this is basically where we're going to get extremely clear on how your prospects can go from A to B in the most efficient and linear way possible. We're going to do this in a way that's compelling, that's new, and it encapsulates your services in a way that's very different to what the prospect has heard before. So this is not only going to massively separate you from the competition and allow you to stand out as one of one in your existing sub niche of health and wellness, it's going to make generating attention extremely easy because you're going to stand out massively from all the other agencies that reach out to these people because of the sub niche, the way you package your services. And also it comes down to targeting and who we're aligning and who's actually that ideal customer. So when it comes to targeting, we can obviously make sure that we're reaching out to people that aren't those people that we're putting in the pipeline for months down the line, but we're targeting in a way that we're ensuring that we're reaching out to the people who are actively looking for a solution like this now. And then we're packaging your unique mechanism in a way that aligns with what they're actually looking for, which basically means you can stand out, you can charge higher prices without having to offer crazy guarantees. So you're not going to need to take on 25 clients at 2K a month to hit the 50K month goal, which ultimately means you're going to have to put in less work to achieve your goal, meaning you'll be able to solve the problem of having to generate loads and loads of leads, close loads of leads, have to do a lot more work to hit that 50K a month mark. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Any other questions on this stage? Yeah, sorry.
Short, would there be somebody that has two offers? If like it's like brands with a CMO, brands without a CMO? So that, yeah, that's the short question.
Brands with a CMO and brands without a CMO. It's a good question. I mean, so I think with the way that we're packaging your services and the way that we're positioning your unique mechanism and making you stand out, which again links into all the market research that we're going to help you do, and then we're going to align on you. And you've already seen strategies that we've put on the YouTube and things like that. We're going to give you the systems so we can work alongside you and implement them as well. But when it comes to like those two different personas of like one with a CMO and one without a CMO, they're still very, very similar. So it's going to remain extremely similar. But once we're reaching out to these people, there'll just be a slight nuance in the scripting, which is the next stage that I'm going to get onto. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you have any thoughts on this stage?
No, I like it. I mean, would this require market research or like where I actually present that script on the phone, or maybe I'm getting too micro?
Yeah, so market research again goes into helping you build this unique mechanism. So we're going to link a lot of the systems that we use ourselves for market research, and we're going to get in the trenches with you. So we can basically do the market research. We can use the insights that you already have to help work with you to build out the unique mechanism. So yeah, a lot of that encapsulates the market research stuff in the unique mechanism. It's kind of using the market research that you already know, using our expertise when it comes to market research, and then positioning that as part of your mechanism to get the prospects from A to B. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like it.
Perfect. Okay, so once your unique mechanism is dialed in, comes down to booking meetings. That's the next thing we're going to focus on. So we're going to help you essentially supercharge the existing system that you have because you have proof of concept. You're already getting responses, but it's just a case of upping the volume with what's already working and doing that in a way that's predictable and that's scalable, which ultimately means we can eliminate the prospects that either just aren't interested or aren't ready to move forward, which again is affecting your ability to book meetings. So what we're going to do here is, like I said, we're first going to look to see the areas that we can get huge returns just by tweaking things with your outbound system. And the main thing here is just going to be positioning your unique mechanism in a way, we've already got it positioned, it's just putting it in front of your target market because that market research is so dialed in. because of the knowledge we have of your target customer, because of the work we've done up front. We know exactly what's going to make them tick. And now we have a strategy which can target them specifically, similar to what you're doing already. And we can just add our expertise on top of that. So we can get the targeting correct. So we can target the people that can afford to pay you more money so you can do less work to hit your goal, AKA brands with a bigger headcount, brands with medium to larger headcount. So we're not focusing on people that don't have budget and that don't understand the importance of what you're offering.
Got it.
So we're going to give you exact scripts, response frameworks, follow-up systems, show-up systems, so we can start ramping up the volume and booking you 2 meetings a day at a minimum. And then once we have that proof of concept, we're going to work with you to allow the system to run without you. So I'm sure at the moment you're probably putting a lot of time into the system, into operating it. Our goal for you is to have a system that books you meetings where you can work on the business without working inside it. It genuinely is our goal. And whilst we have this in place and whilst we work with you to optimize the targeting, the volume, so we can book meetings with outbound, we're going to work with you to build an inbound system. So leveraging the knowledge you already have around your target audience and the value that you provide, using almost what's like an idiot-proof content process. So I'm sure obviously you've seen my content online. Our goal with that is to allow you to do the same and have an exponentially growing system, which books a hell of a lot of meetings per month on autopilot. And it's going to be with prospects that already know you and that already like you. They already trust you because they've seen what you're doing. And again, this works in your favor massively when it comes to, as you know, is a difficult niche like ecom, where you need what you can to stand out. And content is a great way of doing that. And we're going to give you all of the systems so you can not only produce content in a minimal amount of time, but also repurpose that onto multiple platforms. So you have a distributed net, so you get as many eyeballs on you as possible, and it consistently grows that system, which is going to allow you to have a system which is constantly growing with minimal input from your side, which again is going to allow prospects just to come to you on autopilot without you having to build a system or continue to run the system, which reaches out to them. And that's a great feeling. Does that sound good?
It sounds interesting. I had a very similar thought, which was outbound would be feeding inbound because of that market research, literally getting people to tell you what they like to hear.
Yeah, and it makes feedback so much easier, and it links into market research, what we talked about, because you're building trust with your target market, and they can provide feedback for you in the sense of what their biggest pain points are, what they're looking for, and that sort of stuff is invaluable. And then I like what you said about combining outbound and inbound. It's very effective when done correctly, and that's our goal with this. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this stage? Have you got any more?
I'm interested. I guess what's the price? They always ask.
Yeah. So there's 2 more steps in our process before we do that. The next one is sales process. So specifically sales process redesign. So once we have step 1 and step 2 unlocked, what we're going to do is we're going to work with you to reposition your sales process with what I call the reverse sales system. So the reason I call it the reverse selling system is because it's like a 7-step process that allows you to eliminate the objections before the close. So it's kind of like reverse engineering the sale. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it sounds like gap selling a bit.
So yeah, our goal with this is to get you to a 30% closing rate, not only through us working with you to implement these systems that we have outbound wise, but also by personally reviewing your calls, because you know better than anyone, you can book a hell of a lot of meetings, but if you're not closing them, if you're not selling to them effectively with a proven process, then you might as well have just booked no meetings in the first place. So once this is all in check and we have that system to book you meetings consistently, and we have a proven sales process in place, which we're going to implement, we can think about hiring people like sales reps, which put you in a position where you don't have to take all of the calls yourself, which again can allow you to take a step back, continue to traveling to places like Mexico City and maybe enjoying it a bit more than just working all the time. And then also give you the freedom to just do what you want, because again, you're not in the business, you can work on it. And your exact inputs aren't tied to the outcome of the business, which is where we're going to introduce team members like you've had experience before hiring with the 50K a month agency. So again, your experience is going to play a massive role in this as well. So once we get to this point where we have sales reps closing automatically, we have meetings being booked automatically, again, you can really just buy back your time and then reinvest into things that actually matter and that really move the needle and then put you back into that position of being an operator. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. What are your questions on this stage?
None. I think I get it. It makes sense. I mean,
perfect. So the final step, as you know, is what we call client permanence. So our goal with this is just to never allow you to lose a client. Similar, I'm sure your retention is really good at the moment, but we want to take that almost to the next level. So we want to work with you to make sure that you have not only the best client relationships possible, but also that you're over delivering on results. This is going to allow literally making clients that stay with you for years on end, like that those clients that stay with you for like 24, 36 months to literally become the new norm. So it's going to allow you to grow even further through letting your service market itself, because not only do you have phenomenal client relationships, you're getting them phenomenal results as well. And you're going to build out a referral system by literally word of mouth because your service is so good. So you're not really going to have to ever worry about if the revenue next month is going to be predictable. So similar to what we talked about, where it doesn't really affect you too much, but there's always like a smidge of fear in your mind where as long as we're not taking on new clients could leave at any point and we don't know for certain what our monthly revenue is going to be next month. If we have a system in place, which is a service that is absolutely phenomenal, which is aided by the unique mechanism in the acquisition process, not only do we know that, okay, we're going to get loads of new clients because we know how to sell, we know how to get leads, but we also know that there's an extremely minimal chance that our clients are ever going to leave us just because of how good our service is. So not only that, we're also going to show you how you can systemize the whole process like you've done kind of with your old agency, I'm assuming. So we can put processes in place. We can start introducing a team talent that understand your unique mechanism and that understand how your business works and automate repetitive tasks that you're spending a lot of time on, all without sacrificing quality. So you can take a step back and again, invest into things that are actually truly going to move the needle and get you to that business that's doing 100K plus months because you have a good team in place that can fulfill the service well. Do you see where I'm coming from on this?
Yeah, it's kind of very interesting because I'm probably on this meeting because you guys had a very unique middle of funnel, right? Like I'm fully capable of sending 100,000 cold emails by myself, but that is an interesting, that's a unique mechanism of yours, is that you guys are focusing on the middle of the funnel. You're focusing on the middle of the funnel and making it the top of the funnel. That's very advanced, is what I'm saying. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And it hasn't been an overnight thing for us to arrive at what's currently working and how this gets results. But yeah, it works well the stage we're at. Okay, do you have any more questions on any of the four things we covered?
Maybe a macro question is, have you worked with e-com agencies before?
We have worked with e-commerce agencies before, yes, absolutely. And I dive into that in a little bit more depth. But with e-commerce, it's kind of like what we spoke about. The targeting plays a huge role, arguably the biggest role. Like, and you already know that, right? You said it right off the start. It's not like you're in the dark and you think, okay, all I have to do is just send 10,000 emails with the Jordan Platten type ROI offer. Again, like times have changed. This isn't 2018 anymore. We can't do that. So again, it really, with the e-commerce agencies we work with, it really came down to just being extremely precise in their targeting and getting the unique mechanism dialed in. Because the e-commerce agencies that perform the best are always the e-commerce agencies that are offering something unique and something attractive to the market. And you have that foundation. And it's just going to be about the way we're positioning that, which is going to be the big lever that we can pull to start getting you meetings consistently. So that was the main thing. It was market research and positioning the offer, and then putting our expertise with acquisition on top of that to start getting results. That was the main thing.
Got it.
Perfect. So in terms of delivery, We'll work together for 120 days. Everything is all customized. So once you enroll, we're going to give you some initial intake homework to complete. And once we're done with that, we're going to personally hop on a 2-to-1 call with you where we're going to map out your entire implementation pathway, which is basically the exact game plan for the next 120 days, the SOPs that we need you to go through for now, items that I need you to take care of, items that we're going to take care of for you, how often we're going to meet, what's that all going to look like, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm just curious. I know I've asked this a few times, but in terms of the process specifically, how do you feel?
Pretty impressed.
Nice. Okay, that's good to hear. So, okay, there's no part that you want to address in a little bit more detail or anything like that?
I think the unique your focus on the unique mechanism, like this has come from certain thought leaders for inbound, and that basically I find it interesting that you guys have found a way to position yourselves as inbound and outbound experts at the same time. And again, smush the top and middle of funnel because those are things I think I could work on.
Hmm. Okay, perfect. So you feel good? No questions. What's next? Where do you feel like you want to go from here?
I just want to ask about the pricing. Yeah, yeah, and I guess that would be the biggest thing.
Perfect. Let me get on to that. So what will happen is you'll process the investment with me. Once that happens, what we'll do is we'll set what's called baseline. So I'll give you some homework right away to complete, where essentially we're just going to optimize to see where we can get our quickest wins. And you can send in your current outreach scripts, your current sales scripts, your current pitch, as well as a sales call for me to review just for some feedback. Most people actually find that the just like even before we've had that initial onboarding call where we map out the entire implementation pathway, that it just unlocks so much like mental baggage for them just by seeing the slight tweaks we make on the sales process and the outreach scripts prior to even getting started. So yeah, from then we're ready to rock and roll after we're doing that, and then we can jump on that initial 2-to-1 complete analyzation implementation call. Does that sound good?
It could, yeah. I mean,
Perfect.
I wouldn't make like any decision on anything today, but I'm very interested.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I'm curious, like why is that? Why don't you want to make a decision today?
Truthfully, and don't judge, is it's because Mercury's in retrograde. I swear to God, I've literally noticed response rates have been down, my energy's been down, and I do, yeah, yeah, I would have to think of how to move some Bitcoin things if this was expensive. So I'd have to think, yeah, like I also don't like making impulse decisions because I've read gap selling. I'm a salesman, so like what I appreciate about sales is that like I know that my Myers is going to be around for a long time, and I yeah, like so are you guys. So there is also timelessness to things. I don't know if that sounds out of the box, but like basically, it could be that in a month I could pull the trigger on something like this, like May 1st, and it would be nice, even though it is getting micro talent, but it's like get those freaking servers because they're Microsoft servers, like get the 2 week warm up.
Hmm. Okay. See what you're saying. Okay, so it's kind of like timing, and it's also, I guess, it's also with the Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah, like I would potentially have to sell Bitcoin, so it's like there is literally like clinical procedural things that I have to figure out if this was affordable.
Okay. So yeah, let's address what that is. So the investment to get you to 50K a month is just 6K, $6,000 for 120 days. And that can be paid cash or we can take crypto as well.
Wait, people take crypto?
Yeah, we take crypto, we take cash, either one.
Interesting. Yeah, this is something to think about. It's interesting because I actually meant this. Like I'm evaluating for medium term, but I didn't actually realize that you guys have a very credible. You might have the exact offer I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah, I think we do. Honestly, I think based on everything that you've told me, I would be if you want to if you did come on board, I would almost just be annoyed with myself is because I know we have it exactly what you need based on all the problems that you've told me, specifically around market research with the e-commerce situation that you're in, which is quite unique. And what you'll find is a lot of people obviously offer client acquisition services, but they don't have an understanding of the e-commerce landscape. A lot of the lead generation agencies shy away from e-commerce because they've heard it's hard. They hear there's some problems with it. But I actually think it's one of the easier niches to get results in, just because you can do a set few things that the majority of the e-commerce agencies are too lazy to do, which can just set you massively apart from the competition, which buys back into what we were talking about, market research, unique mechanism, etc. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Hmm. I mean, say this was something I move forward with
Mhm.
in the future. Would this almost sounds weird to ask, but if I was gung ho about getting market research, in other words, cold email and phone phishing in place for solar leads, like you guys would only work with one, you would only do like one offer, right? Like you wouldn't consult on a second offer.
We can consult on a second offer, absolutely. So the support network that you're going to get with us and how we're working with you, we're really in the trenches, like building alongside you. We're going to have weekly calls with you. You're going to have 24/7 access to us. If a second offer means slightly more work on our side to support you, we don't see it as work. Just see it as genuinely what we need to do on our part to help you get to your goal. And if that's a second offer, like a lot of the principles will remain the same. Obviously, there's going to be nuances with the soda niche, but it's still going to be building out the unique mechanism. You're still going to be able to use similar systems for booking meetings, for sales, for service delivery that we give you. So again, a second offer absolutely would work with you on that.
Have you ever developed offers that don't deal with numbers? So in other words, like I've always found it restricting to talk about revenue numbers because I'm literally potentially reaching out to brands that are at 500K and brands that are 250K, where the offer is about, it's basically similar to yours. Like it's what your offer was implying was like that predictability and that market research. Basically, yeah, maybe the short question is, could you position an offer that doesn't have numbers in it, where it's like literally your ads will work and that be attractive?
Yeah. I mean, it's helpful to talk about outcomes as you've seen in terms of outbound and things like that. Are you speaking specifically for, are you talking about like non-ROI based services? So things like maybe web design or graphic design or things like that? Or are you talking mainly in just when you're doing outreach, not talking about like a set end number? Or like, what do you
Exactly.
mean exactly?
Not pigeonholing myself with a number because I could, again, be reaching out to multiple revenue ranges.
Oh yeah, 100%. So with obviously with revenue ranges, that comes down to in part targeting. So we're targeting brands, let's say 20 to 50 employees, right? There again, there's going to be a huge range of revenue on there. But I mean, again, it comes down to market research because it's extremely slept on, and no one's addressing pain points first. And like the market, especially e-com, where people are making these crazy claims, we can add an extra million a month. We can get you the 20x ROAS and all these things. The people, which is why like sub niching down in e-com is so important, which is a position you're already in, where you get extremely specific on who you're helping, and then you tie your knowledge and your industry expertise into their pain points and you address their pain points, you make them feel understood. And then you allude to your solution and your unique mechanism and how you can solve that problem. You're going to get a lot better results than people that just throw out these crazy numbers. So with like Alex Hormozy and his book and people making these crazy claims and these crazy guarantees, it's almost flipped the outbound space in a way where the people now, especially in ecom, that are seeking to understand their prospects and showing the prospects that they understand their pain points, that they have that industry expertise and knowledge, and then are alluding to a unique mechanism, are getting the best results. And that's what we've always found.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, have when you guys developed a unique mechanism for an e-com brand, was it numbers based? Like it's like we're going to add 30K in incremental revenue type thing?
So I wouldn't define that as a unique mechanism. So that would almost just be like the headline outcome that is based on what you've already helped brands to achieve. But for the unique mechanism specifically, it's not numbers based. It's essentially just like the core pillars of your service tied into one macro mechanism that you use to help the prospect go from A to B. And would map that out with you, what exactly that would look like. And then if you were to use number claims and things like that, we'd only advise you to use those claims if they're relevant to specific brands that you're helping or targeting. So let's say you have a case study, just for an example, in like a mattress e-commerce brand. Using a case study from a mattress e-commerce brand to target, I don't know, like a supplement brand isn't going to be extremely relevant because you know better than anyone that the nuances in service delivery for e-commerce, like they vary a lot. So for example, if you're servicing a mattress brand and a supplement brand, there's going to be a lot of changes from both service delivery sides. So yeah, definitely for like the unique mechanism, you basically map out what the pillars of your service are, build that into a macro mechanism prospects can use to go from A to B, and then any relevant number-based headlines that we can have to talk about actual end results, we can use that to target who we're going to target. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, it sounds like a no.
No, I do. It's just I don't want to overthink it. It's basically I'm just trying to visualize it, and I'm probably at the risk of getting too micro. Like
Yeah, and
I'll just say that my one big case study, if it was positioned in like a very simple way, it's I helped one ecom brand get into the top 1% of Shopify stores where they broke again, they broke 1 million per month.
okay.
But yeah, again, this unique mechanism, it's just a conversation I've not had, so that's why I'm getting to like
Yeah, and when you
theories
talk
here.
about a 1 mil a month and growing to the top 1% brand on Shopify, again, like that's huge. And
Oh, I know.
when we have numbers like that, it doesn't make sense not to use them. When reaching out to a bunch of these brands, like we're going to use them, we can use the end result, we can use the social proof because it's going to help tremendously. But it's just about making sure that's relevant and that's aligned with the market that we're reaching out to. But in the case that you just told me, it sounds like it would be. So yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
all makes sense.
Perfect, man. Well, how do you feel? What are your thoughts from here?
Yeah, I'd be interested. I don't know if it's up to you. If it's a call or not. Like connecting at some point in May, in a good way. I'll have gotten just some of these organizational things I was talking about, like these servers warmed up, these lists built. Because like I'm basically, whether it's micro or not, like I'm probably going to need to start looking closer to TAM math, where it's like, do I want to get like 30 servers? Like, do I literally want to start hitting huge percents of my TAM and then like scraping those? Yeah, my point is, I'd be interested in May. I'd be much more receptive to like literally, it could be yes. Yeah.
Mm. Why is that? Why specifically May? Is it just because of the service?
Oh, like I said, it's just because I'm in these weeds of like, for lack of a better word, where I'm doing VA work to basically get all these systems set up. And then it literally becomes a matter of just executing, whether it's by myself or with a partner. Yeah. And that thing I told you earlier about this, I don't even want to give it weight, but the superstition thing about April, about retrograde.
Mm. Okay, so you would say like so taking like the retrograde April stuff, putting that aside for a second, you would say timing is one of the big things, like not having the time right now to implement.
No, it's just the energy state. For whatever reason, this month where I'm like yeah, like learning this new contract. For whatever reason, this month I just traveling. I'm a little bit more tired. Like so, literally, I literally think in 2 weeks I'd just be fresher. In other words, I don't want to be looking at my outreach like in a negative or in a space where things could change in 2 weeks. And again, there's some of those procedural humps that I want to just get done. Like it's just the ability to visualize things, or basically, I couldn't visualize myself getting started in April with any vendor, but in May I could.
Mm. Okay, got it. So you'd say it's a bit of a timing thing, but also energy as well, just what you're feeling at the moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so just to be sure, like money aside, like there's nothing else that's just energy aside, I guess, or just energy aside, there's nothing that's keeping you from being less than 100% certain that this is what you want to do.
You're a good salesman. Um,
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I'm just trying
I
to
mean,
work
yeah,
out like where the main thing is.
it's that, and there is a legitimate world where, like, I mean, it sounds bad, but I am confident that things will work. Like, I could do things on my own. I am confident that I could figure things out on my own. Like, when I take fear out of the equation, like, I am self-aware that results, like, I could just basically A/B test on Lemlist a shit ton of unique mechanisms until I find one. So that would be one potential objection.
Okay. I think I might have made it sound a little bit more simple than it is. So with the unique mechanism, it's not only like a headline of what that looks like. It's essentially like your whole offer. It's your whole process, and it's how that's positioned and how you're aligning the pillars of what you do to actually be able to fulfill that end result that you're going to deliver. So it's not only a case of just like tweaking a few things in the marketing, but it's also how you're presenting it on the sales calls, right? Because like these are the core pillars of your service. These are the outcomes that the prospect is going to get. And if you're alluding to a unique mechanism in the marketing, but once they get onto the call and they can't see how it works together congruently and together, and you're not presenting it right, it's never going to work, and you're just going to end up looking the exact same as all the other agencies. So it's one thing to get that differentiation in your marketing. There's another thing to do it in the sales process. Already package the mechanism in a way that they know is unique and they know is worthy of you charging those higher prices because you are actually one of one. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Can you see how it might be challenging to I guess obviously you could test and you might get some results, but can you see how it would be challenging to close prospects using the mechanism and presenting it correctly?
Actually, yes. That does kind of, yeah, I see what you're saying. And
Okay.
that is true, is like I'm coming from the framework of gap selling, but I am not necessarily accounting for the fact that in ecom there is a little bit of the, fe- the features where they're taking my features and comparing it to another agency. That might be something that, like, yeah, like, that I'm underestimating.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean man, that happens all the time. That happens all the time, especially in a niche where there's so many people trying to do it, like e-commerce. It's not only enough to be different in your marketing, but you have to be able to present that well in your sales as well. Otherwise, you're just never going to close, especially at the rates that you want to be charging. You know, so yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
You have a good point.
Yeah, perfect, man. So, what are your thoughts from here?
I'm extremely intrigued. I think it's. Do you want to book a call in May, or yeah? I mean, there's a chance I could move forward. I think some of it's just gravity, as they call it in sales books.
Mm.
And yeah, like it's weird. It's like when I was thinking long term, like I was thinking something more nebulous versus like, wait a minute, long term is actually 2 weeks from now. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I think there's a very like basically I'm not gonna. There's no competitors of yours that I'm interested in, or that I foresee myself being interested in. I would have never visualized that happening or imagined that happening.
Okay, perfect. So now we've kind of talked about the unique mechanism and you feeling like there could have been some aspects that you could be yourself. Other than like the energy and how you're feeling at the moment in the month of April, you would say other than that, you're 100% certain that this is the thing that can solve your problem, and you're 100% bought in on the process. Would you say that's true?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So now it's just down to like the energy and the sort of state you're in the month of April, you'd say.
Yeah. Honestly, these discovery tips alone, yeah, I had no idea you got the fact that you guys covered inbound really got me. The answer is yes. It could be very well be 100% that I see it could help.
Okay, but it's just a case of doing it in May rather than April because of the energy state.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm curious, like, what exactly are you? Tell me a little bit more about the energy sort of situation. Like, what exactly are you? Are you like? I guess maybe it's nerves, maybe something like that. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's nerves. I think traveling. I don't want to overshare personal things, but I think traveling. I just
That's
had some
okay.
allergy issues where I had like yesterday where I had to take a half day. So basically, when I'm in like a better rhythm where I'm actually making cold calls, booking calls, like it's like, well, duh, why wouldn't I invest based off of this funnel? Whereas again, now it's like I'm in these theory weeds where I'm literally trying to like just book, figure out how many servers I need, get back into the rhythm of cold calling. And yeah, like it's just with traveling and stuff, there's a lot of expenses, but basically that's just been my observation that for whatever reason, these past few weeks has just been tiring for the traveling.
Okay, so it's not only a bit of nerves maybe, but then also just the timing of the traveling and being able to implement certain things. You would say.
Yeah, yeah. Like basically, I'm somebody who wants to be putting in those like more type A weeks where it's like I'm hitting the volume numbers on my calls, and I just need a couple of weeks to get back into that, back on that horse. Quite frankly, like I was living in Airbnb where just I was having allergy issues and like missing my numbers from yeah whatever it was these allergies.
Okay, so I get so what you're saying is it's probably going to take like a few weeks for you to just get back into the flow of things, and then that sort of position is when you're ready to move forward.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we've act- when this sort of situation came up before, what we did actually with a certain client is, so they were similar to you and they needed a few weeks before they could like truly give it 100%. What we can do in this situation is we can add an extra 2 weeks on to the 4 months. So we can make an exception where instead of 120 days, it's 100 and what would be 34 days. So it would be four months and 2 weeks. That way we can get started now. And then you're not having to waste 2 weeks where you don't feel up to scratch. You can have the 2 weeks now that you can do some work in. We can obviously still move things forward really quickly. And then after the 2 weeks when you're feeling better, that's when the 4 months will start anyway. So I'm basically just adding an extra 2 weeks onto it. How does that sound?
You're masterful at sales. I think because it's just an intuition. It just feels like 6K is a big. I'll put it this way: making a decision about a 6K investment on the spot just makes me a little uncomfortable. But if that offer was open for like 24 hours, like I'd be able to just yeah have more clarity to think it through. Like I'm just it's not you, but a little on the spot. I feel like
Hmm. Okay. Okay, got it. So again, like because we know you're 100% in on the service, which is really good to hear. I know you're bought in. I know you like it, which is gives me a lot of confidence and makes me happy to hear that it's aligned with truly what you want because I know for a fact that it is what you want and what you need. So you'd say now it just comes down mainly to a sense of like making it work financially.
I mean, 6K is pretty high, but yeah, like, have you ever gotten that feedback or no? Because you literally recoup it or whatever.
Mm. Exactly. You're going to recoup it very quickly. And okay, so just to clarify one more time. So we know you're 100% bought in, and obviously there isn't really anything. Let me just clarify. There isn't really anything less than keeping you 100% bought in on what this is what you want to do. You know this is the process, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in other words, you're not really in like a should I do this place where you're like sort of going back and forth in your own mind thinking like, okay, is this going to be the best thing for my business? It's more of like a how can I actually do this and make it work financially because it is your goal to do this. It's just a matter of making it work with the finances.
True. True.
Okay, so yeah, to like obviously the reason I said 6K is because that is the price, and most of our clients do pay the investment upfront, obviously. But for certain clients, like based on their situation, I don't feel like it is the best thing for them to do based on their situation financially. So in that case, with you, would allow them to break it up. So that being said, since it's your goal to do this, and obviously we know you're bought into the process, which is really good. Like I said, it makes me feel happy. Do you want to explore ways that we could break the payments up to make it work for you? Would that be okay?
Yeah, like how?
Great. So we don't actually have any set payment plans. It really is all customized dependent on what's best for the client because we don't do this often, right? So based on where you're at financially, it might be possible for us to work something out in terms of now, or at the very worst, we can create a game plan for you to work towards in the future. So it's something you can do at some point down the road. So are you comfortable and open? Is that okay? Just so we can explore how we can actually make this work in having a conversation about where you're at financially right now. And then based on that, we can go ahead and figure out what's the next best step from here and how we can actually make it work.
I mean, I wouldn't want to overshare. I'll just suffice it to say that I could make 6K work. What would be the option, the alternatives? Just breaking it up into another month or?
What we can do is exactly, we can split it into two payments. So we can do 3K, 3K now to get started, and then 3K 30 days from now. So again, we don't do this often, but in your specific case, because I know for an absolute fact we can help you. I know this is perfect for you. I know you're bought in on the process, just a matter of making it work financially. So yeah, in this case, I'll be happy to do 3K and then another 3K 30 days from now.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm interested. This is tough because I know sales from your side of the equation. I never thought I'd be making a decision the same day. Like I always thought I'd be able to think about it for a week. And again, it's not like, like I know the statistics like, oh, you're going to lose the sale forever. The guy's going to ghost you. It's not really how I work. Like that's not the culture that I'm in. Like I usually tell, yeah, I think that is my true objection right now is just I feel nervous making any decisions on the spot, but it doesn't mean that it's a no at all. It's basically a yes with no, just the objection of timing. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so we've addressed timing with like the obviously the extra 14 days. We've addressed like the finances with breaking it up.
So without oversharing personal things, I've just had a belief system that I shouldn't be making big decisions during Mercury retrograde. And again, I used to laugh at people who are into astrology, but
Yeah.
it's just a partial belief system that it has weight.
Mm.
I swear to God.
I understand what you're saying, and whilst I can't claim myself to be massive into astrology, I have actually looked at some aspects of it. I do think it's interesting. So by no means am
Oh,
I.
dude. I used to like make fun of literally, but in my head, make fun of people who believe in astrology. But I'm telling you, it applies to people I'm talking to on Bumble, and then I'm all about breaking limiting
Yeah,
beliefs. So it's kind of like But I swear to God, things in Mercury retrograde are weird. People in the spiritual community talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so we've addressed the finances, we've addressed the timing thing. Now it's more of a decision thing, and I hear you. So just to clarify, what I'm hearing you say, because you mentioned there's kind of a way you make decisions, right? And it's worked for you to this point. There's been like a set way you've made decisions up to this point. That's gone well for you in business. Would you say that's correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up because this is really not, you're being genuinely honest with me, and I do appreciate that. And obviously, as you know, like everyone has, like I have the same. Everyone has a set pattern of decision making that they're accustomed to, which is just the way they operate, right? And I also want to realign you with the fact that the way in which you make decisions, obviously, it creates everything else for you in your life, your business. Like we are literally where we are today as humans because of the result of 1,000 choices we've made over our lifetime, millions of choices. So, like for example, there's plenty of like self-made millionaires who are where you want to be and where I want to be just because they've made decisions differently and they've gotten different results. It's just a decision making thing. And I understand, like, I'm the same. I have a pattern of making decisions like everyone does. And we have a pattern of decision making that makes us comfortable as humans. But I also want to realign you with the fact that growth and making the correct decision never really happens from a place inside your comfort zone. So you can't really rely, like as humans, we can't rely on that same pattern of decision making that got us here to get you to a different area and a different outcome that you want to get to in the future. So essentially, if you don't change like that way you make decisions, if we don't change that as humans, we're never going to get a different result. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I guess the real issue isn't how you like used to make decisions before. The real question is like, who do you want to like step up to be, and how are you going to make a decision moving forward? Because that decision that you're making from not a place of fear, but from a place of growth determines your
Yes.
result. So I guess it's like in my head, it's like, do you want to be the type of person that continues to expect the same result from using that same pattern of decision making, which is to get a different result, which is basically, obviously, as Einstein said, the definition of insanity? Or do you want to be that person that, when they know the decision is right, can step up and make that decision, even if it is uncomfortable, and make it from a place of growth that most people aren't willing to make, and therefore you can get the results that most people don't have, which is predictable lead flow and a business that's actually thriving. So I guess it comes down to like, which one of those people do you want to be?
Yeah, I understand the concept of like ego, but like basically one deal when it was closed, like the guy just gave me like a day to kind of just think it through. I probably didn't mention it, but he was a market research expert. He was like but it was a low price tag. Yes, like I agree with the gist of what you're saying, but one day, yeah, like sleep on it type thing. I don't think is a difference from and again, it's like an egoic framework. Like there's people, dude. I had an agency that was at 50K per month without sending a single cold email or a single cold call. So like I am like maybe it's a risk, but I'm extremely open minded instead of like focusing on that. Like yeah, like but I do believe that yeah, I do like your service.
Perfect. In my head, like I definitely understand you. I hear you. I know from your perspective, it's like I can obviously you're going to have a few days to think about it, but in my head, I've heard you say to me that you're 100% in on the process. You know it's going to get you to that end result. You're bought in. We've explored ways to make it work financially. I've extended like the time period so that that's not an issue anymore. And I'm just thinking like, I know this is perfect for you. I know that you know this is perfect for you. So why not get started now? I mean, that's where I'm at currently.
What's 120 days? How many months is that? 30, 69? You're saying
124 months, and then we can add the extra 2 weeks on because of what you told me about. Obviously, you don't feel correct. So we can truly start in May. So we'll basically be starting in May, but you're going to get these 2 weeks for free, which I've added on in April. So we can start for the rest of April. We can get the ball rolling. We can crush it. We can get everything we need all organized and put everything in place in these 2 weeks and start getting results. And then we can truly start in May. And that's when you're going to be feeling 100%. And then from May starting, you're going to have the 4 months anyway.
Damn, dude, you're fucking good at sales.
Thank you. It wasn't always this way.
Oh man, Ferris, you can't go down on price.
That is the price. That is the price.
That is the price. So what's wrong with waiting 24 hours for this offer?
24 hours. I mean, inherently, there's nothing wrong with it. I just say I genuinely want you to make the best decision, right? And you've told me that you're 100% bought into the process. You want to move forward. You know this is right for you. So in my head, I'm like, why not do this now? Why not do this when you're in that position of high energy? I've given you, like, we can do that extra 2 weeks that I talked about. We can split it up into 2 payments, and then we can get the ball rolling now because I know, and you know as well, it's the best for you.
What is it? Weekly calls?
Weekly calls, absolutely. 24/7 access to myself and my business partner. We're going to be in the trenches, right? Working alongside with you, helping you implement all these systems, helping you overcome any bottlenecks that you're facing in relation to anything that you're doing. So yes, weekly calls up, absolutely.
Shoot, my laptop's about to die.
No worries. Find a charger. That's all.
Yeah, give me a sec. Let me go grab it.
No worries.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me? All good.
Yeah. So where were we?
So yeah, you said you just mentioned. So we spoke about all of that, and you just said 24 hours. What's the what would be the issue with that? And I said there's no issue. There's no real issue. The only thing for me is I know that you know that this is right for you. You're 100% bought into the process. We've explored how we can make it work financially, so that's not an issue anymore. We've kind of addressed like the timing as well. So it's an extra 14 days, so we can properly get started in May, and you can have an extra 2 weeks in this April period as well.
Yeah,
and then it's okay. Go ahead.
I guess maybe. So the first is just I always like to sleep on things and meditate on it. And then the second is like, well, couldn't I just take that? This is going to sound crazy, but like, this is just one example. Take $6,000 and then hire a VA from the Philippines and then just literally fish and then use that to get clients with my mass outreach.
Yeah. So again, the problem with hiring external solutions, like a VA or something like that, is you're going to have dependency on them. So the last thing you ever want to do is hire to solve a problem that you don't already have an existing understanding of yourself. You want to hire to replicate an existing system that you have that works, rather than hiring to solve a problem. It's never going to end well, because like these people, they don't have the understanding. Like they're still stuck in 2017 of their outbound knowledge, where they think about, okay, it's just about spamming thousands of emails. They don't understand the fundamentals behind email. They don't understand the things that go into outbound, the things that go into launching a correct campaign and everything there. in their mind, it's just like, okay, how can we spam as many messages as possible? They don't care about deliverability. They don't care about domains. And let's say for whatever reason, like they were to get good results, right? You now are extremely dependent on them. Like they have complete control over you, right? Because I mean, for whatever point they can say, okay, we don't want to work with you anymore for us. And then you lose your biggest method of getting new customers overnight. You can't get new customers yourself. Like or on the other hand, they say, okay, Ferris, we like working with you, but we don't feel like we're getting paid enough. We want to charge an extra 10K. And because you're so dependent on them, you don't know how to do it yourself. You have to pay them because otherwise you're going to lose your
that argument could be used for yourself.
It's different in the sense that we're helping you install the systems, right? So we're not doing it for you. We're not doing everything for you like a Filipino VA or something like that. We're actually working alongside you to do it with you, make sure that you have the systems, make sure you have the understanding, and you have that leverage to be able to do it yourself with our support. So even if for whatever reason you're like, okay, guys, I have an understanding now, I want to do it by myself, which is why it's a shorter amount of time, because we know you're going to have everything you need in that 4-month period to get great results. So then you can take a step back and it's like, okay, I know how to operate the system. Max and Isaiah have been really helpful. I don't really feel like I need to learn much more than what I already know. I already now know how to generate 30 to 40 appointments every month. I don't feel like I need their support anymore. We're not going to stop you from walking away, and you have already all of the skills you know. You've now learned the highest leverage skill, which is lead generation, and you're now able to get meetings and make sales on your own through autopilot with the systems that will help you implement. So it's different in that sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. What are your thoughts?
120 days. What if it was 3K for 60 days and then I decide after 60 days to continue?
Okay, so you're saying, so for 120 days, you pay 3K for 60 days. Okay. Let me just write that down so I'm on the same page. Okay. I mean, usually we don't make
exceptions,
things like that. But I mean, in your case, what we can do is we can add a guarantee, and we usually don't do this like at all. But because I know this is absolutely the best thing for you, and I know you almost just need that little nudge to come across and to get bought in fully, because you already are bought in fully, but it's just about taking the step and making that decision that you know isn't from a place of comfort, like you've always made decisions, but from a place of growth that we as humans like to make decisions from. So, like I said, I'm happy to do a guarantee, and what that's going to look like is what we can do is if we don't make you a positive return on investment, so an absolute minimum, if you don't make the 6K back from working with us over that period of time, then we're going to refund you in full.
Now you've got my attention. Okay, then my only question would be, how many servers would I need to get, or am I getting ahead of myself and asking that question? How many increment? Because I want to just run the, honestly, actually, and maybe this is major overthinking. Like each server, I think might be like 30 to 40 bucks. So I'm just trying to literally scope out how much would it be with servers.
With servers, do you mean like the email setup specifically? You talking about that?
Exactly, because right now, for any incremental email server, there is a 2-week warm-up period, and then I'd have to, like, if you told me now, Ferris, you need to send 1,000 cold emails a day, that means I'm going to have to budget for 20 more servers. If I have roughly like 6, or if I have roughly 10, sorry.
When you say servers, are you talking about domains or like email users, like an email account?
Domains. Yeah, domains.
Okay, so you have 6 domains, so you can have 3 users in each domain. So it's around 18 users, each sending 40 emails a day. So we do 80 times 14, which is what you already have. So right, you're already you're already paying for this. So 18 times 40 is 720 a day. So already with the infrastructure that you have, you said you have 6 domains. Each domain can have 3 users on it. Each email account can send 40 emails a day once it's been warmed. So you can already send 720 emails a day. If we want to bump that up to 1,000 and really play on the volume whilst keeping the targeting in there, that's an X.
And this is just because I'm doing so much mental synthesis today.
Yeah.
Of the 10 servers, 4 of them were just bought this week and in limbo.
Okay.
So let me actually just go to, just going off of memory, let me just go into instantly and count how many servers I've got. 1,
Perfect.
2, 3, 4, 5. The actual number is 6.
Okay, 6 users. So again,
6
okay,
different domains.
Perfect. So 6 sending 40, and then is that all you have, or you said you bought more, right?
I bought like 3 more, I think. Yeah.
Okay, three more users or 3 more domains?
3 more domains. I've not even gotten into buying users because it's just me. But I think I did not know that one domain could send over 100 cold emails in a day.
One domain can have 3 users in the domain. So let's say you have Ferris at milkshop.com, right? You have the domain milkshop.com. You have Ferris at milkshop.com, which is 1 user in the domain. You can add another user in the domain. So like Ferris dot, I don't know, Friday, or Ferris Calbus, your second name, Ferris Calbus at milkshop.com, Ferris.Calbus at milkshop.com. So that's already 3 users. And we can do that for each of the domains.
And so what's the total amount of cold emails you could send from one domain? It's 3 times 40 or 3 times 30?
3 times 40. So from each domain, if you have 3 users in each domain, you can send 120 emails per domain.
You told me I could be sending 600 cold emails tomorrow per day.
That's because I misunderstood what you were saying when you told me how many users you had just now.
So it's 6 domains times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 times 30 is how many cold emails I could send per day tomorrow.
18 times 40, which is the amount of emails, is 720 emails.
Whoa!
Yeah, so you can see how the play on volume can be bigger. It's just knowing the infrastructure. It's just knowing the capacity of the system you already have.
You're saying that if there's a guarantee, then that I would recoup the 6K, then why not?
Exactly.
Give me your Bitcoin wallet and a contract. That's a pretty powerful thing. But yeah, let's do that.